I had a piece of paper with questions down for you guys, but my daughter took it, and I don't know where it's at now.
Oh, yeah?
One of them was your Croc story I wanted to hear off recording.
My Croc story?
You said you had a story you couldn't tell on the
It's
podcast.
it's actually a joke about Crocs that I probably shouldn't say on the podcast. If you see me in the wild, folks, ask me. I'll be more than happy to tell you that Croc joke. And yes,
we're hearing that after.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, that one's not going on the podcast. But yes, I do have a joke about Crocs.
Okay.
That I did tell in the past when a few of the words in it were socially acceptable a little more than they are now.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. And if you think of any of the other ones as you go, it's totally fine.
Okay.
I mean, how socially acceptable is this podcast? 90% of the time.
A couple of the words in the joke have slipped out from a guest or two, but it's never anything we would have said on air. It's never anything
intentionally.
We would have said on air. Yeah, just specific words that might not be the best intent. Well, that being said, let's get after it here, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Welcome everybody to the Ash Hour After Work podcast. We're in the West Side Job Trailer today. John, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, my man. Thank you for making the trip in the shitty weather.
Yeah, it's not great out there today, but here we are. How was your week?
It was good. We had to fire one of the apprentices 2 weeks in. That was fun.
And what was the rationale in 2 weeks? That's quick.
He fucking called in both weeks. He took extra days off, called in once a week, every week that he's been there for 2 weeks. Like, you can't fucking do that.
No, that's too new to be doing that.
Like, I'm sorry, but as a first year, yes, I understand things come up. I understand that we have lives and we have things going on outside, but figure it the fuck out. He didn't even try, is the thing. Like, I asked the foreman, I'm like, did he at least come up with some good excuses? Because I'm a foreman too. He's like, no, man.
Yeah, at least
he didn't even try.
Yeah, at least make me laugh.
Right.
Like something, anything.
But no, he doesn't want to show up, doesn't want to work. He ain't going to work.
Did anybody explain to that kid how hard it is to get an apprentice hired these days?
Clearly not. He just didn't care. And then the other apprentice we got two at the same time. Fuck, he's little. He seems like a good dude, but he's one of the smart ones. You can tell he's got a lot of intelligence in him, and I think he wants to go be an electrical engineer. So he's doing this first, which I applaud him for.
Yeah, definitely.
But hopefully he gets over a little bit of the social awkwardness.
You see it, right? It happens. We got new service drivers a little bit like that too, and he's coming around. But yeah, you can tell he's not used to talking to people all the time.
Right. And unfortunately, I think he is started to listen because he saw one of our stickers on a hard hat. So he looked up the podcast, started listening. So Peyton, if you are listening, I'm giving you a little bit of fucking shit, but you'll be all right.
Yeah, and as we said on previous podcasts, you're going to take shit if you want to work in this industry. So
and stop showing up late. For the love of fucking God. 1-2 minutes late.
Yeah, may as well be 10.
Yeah, fucking stop it. Fucking stop it. I'm telling you now. Hopefully you listen to this.
That's a good rant to get going here.
How was your week been, my man?
Not too bad. It was a pretty casual week this week. I was indoors, which is always a plus for service. Unfortunately, one of those days was in a freezer. One of the nice highlight days we had this past week when it was warm here in the area, and I'm inside and like, God, it was cold. But it is what it is, man. Fella can't complain, working regularly, so what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We're really happy today to have another interesting guest with us in the West Side Job Trailer. Actually, the very first guest ever in the West Side Job Trailer. I was teasing John when I walked in today. I'm like, what changed? Everything looks different. He's like, oh yeah, I cleaned up. That's what it is. Okay, I got it.
Put some shit away.
Yes. We've got a husband and father of two, a long-term member of the IBW, and another great electrician who unfortunately we lost to the clean shoe indoor mafia.
Fuck.
But we'll get into it later. Joe Herkenhoff, welcome to the podcast, buddy. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem.
Yeah,
We're happy
nice
to have you.
How was your week? Just to throw that out there.
It was good.
Yeah.
A little hectic at the end of the week, but we got through it.
So tell me something. We are in a slow period right now, right? Like, it seems to be the running story. Like, a lot of shops are slow. Is it true what they say is when the field guys are slow, the office guys are running their ass off trying to get work?
Yeah, we're crazy busy.
Great.
There's a lot of stuff coming.
Good. We like to hear that term all the time. I should tell you that. You know, you should know.
Yeah.
You know,
Everyone's wanting to know what the next job is.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
We have lots of things coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's always coming.
Yeah, it's coming down the pipe. Anytime now, any day now. Yeah, we got big stuff on the horizon. So tell everybody a little bit about your background. Tell us about your family, where you grew up.
From Delano, Minnesota. Grew up there. Moved back there about 5 years ago. Got 2 beautiful kids, Raymond and Marnie. Raised 7. Marnie's 4. Married to my wife for just about 10 years, Sarah. She's a saint.
Nice.
Well, shout out to Raymond, Marnie, and Sarah.
Okay.
Delano. That sounds familiar. Delano. Do they have some sort of big festival there or something every year?
Big 4th of July
Oh,
event.
That's right. The big 4th of July. I knew it sounded familiar. Yeah, the big 4th of July flight in Delano.
I want to say it's like the longest running 4th of July parade in Minnesota.
Really?
Don't quote me, but I thought I heard that on the news before.
I will look into that as we go here. That could be the case. Yeah, because I knew it sounded familiar for some reason, so that's good to know.
Something's got to put Delano on the map.
Right.
It's a pretty small town.
Yeah. So you say you moved back, so you moved away from there for a while?
Yep.
And then you just like the town, decide to come back home?
Yeah, be closer to my wife's parents. They live up by the St. Cloud area, so we always wanted to move back this way.
Oh, very good. All right.
Nice.
And so you were a field guy because you and I worked together before. Can you remember where we worked together last?
Target, Waconia.
Target Waconia.
Oh, shit. Yeah. I remember that job.
We have some experience there. Yeah, that whole lot went down during that job. That's right, the Target Waconia. I hated that drive, and now I make it fairly regularly.
Right.
I loved that drive.
Oh, I bet you did.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a good one for you. We all have one that's great. I was just talking to a few guys at the shop this week. When they built the Hy-Vee in Cottage Grove, I put 31 miles on my truck in 7 months.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Impressive.
Yeah, I was real happy with that. And then they pulled me to go to Maple Grove.
Oh, Jesus. On the other side of the world. Yeah. I'm enjoying that right now. The job I'm on is 20 minutes away.
You got to like it when it happens, right? Because it's not going to come up very often.
It's the first time I've been this close since I started with the shop, and that was almost 10 years ago.
Oh, that's very good. So tell everybody, what got you into the industry? Or did you do anything before? Give us your history, man.
Well, I went to college at Mankato State, got a 4-year degree in law enforcement and political science. And at that time, everyone was looking to get into law enforcement, and I wanted to get into the DNR. I realized how difficult that was. So I applied to a few places at the time, and one place I applied, there was one opening and 350 people applied for it. And over half of those people that applied had over 10 years of experience. So
wow,
they're probably not going to hire me.
Not so much.
That does make it tough. I've got a friend who is looking into that very thing at the moment to try to get his kid into the DNR, and he said it was going to take forever. So, yeah, that's not exactly great. What made you make the change to go to electrical from that?
Well, I was working odd jobs, trying to just make money and pay off student loan debt. And my dad, who's an IBEW electrician, asked me if I had any interest in joining the trades, that they were taking applicants without trade school. And I was like, you've done it, and you made a great living. You supported me growing up. And so I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. So I went in, applied, took the aptitude test, got accepted, went through a boot camp, which they don't really do anymore. It was like a 1 week where you learned basic switching, just, I don't know, basically things you needed to know, the tools, just boxes, you know, you name it. And went from there, and I loved it. Looking back, I wish I went to a 4-year school but that was just hammered down my throat in high school was, you got to go to college. But looking back, it's like, I wish I would have went to trade school.
Right. It was our generation, right?
Right.
Our generation was told and preached, you got to go to college to get a good paying job.
Yep.
Side note real quick, Delano is the longest running 4th of July parade in Minnesota.
Nice.
Yeah, when you go to their city website, it's in big bold banners, 4th of July Delanos. Yeah, got all the details. They're definitely proud of that. Okay.
Yeah, very proud.
Yeah. That's
nice
good.
Circle back. So you're not the only guy that I've talked to that actually did the law enforcement gig and then got into the trades. I talked to a couple of guys. We had one guy working with us. He was a pretty good dude. He actually got out when all of the horrible shit in Minneapolis happened.
Went down.
With George Floyd and shit like that. And when it got real bad, he skated. He's like, fuck you, I ain't got time for this. I'm not putting myself on the line for this bullshit. And so he was a first-year apprentice at like 35 years old. He's like, no, I'm out. He was happier than shit. He couldn't have been happier.
Yeah, there was a real long stretch there where the cops weren't getting no respect at all.
No.
Quite the opposite.
And it's still that same way inside Minneapolis, I think.
Yeah, I actually saw a guy not long ago had a defund my safety T-shirt with a question mark on. I'm like, I would have bought one of those back in the day.
Yeah.
Looking back, it's the biggest blessing in the sky that I didn't get hired doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, again, you were looking at the DNR route too, which would have been dramatically different.
Right.
Yeah, still policing, but yeah, that would have been a little bit different. So that's not so bad.
I never would have thought it would have been so hard to get into the DNR.
Right? I didn't think so either.
That is insane.
I don't think they have a lot of attrition. I think once somebody's in, that's a pretty good gig, and it was what they were trying to do. I doubt a lot of people are getting out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if nice outdoor gig, government job,
Sitting in the truck all day.
good bennies, like, you know, writing a few tickets, talking to hunters and fishermen all the time. Like, that's probably not such a bad
Where are
gig.
the fish biting?
Right, yeah,
Right.
exactly. I tried to get all the notes down. Like,
But
let me take a look in your well.
Worst job for the DNR, I think. Just side note. The poor bastard that has to sit at the boat dock and make sure that you rinse off your boat. Right.
That does have
And do
to
boat
suck.
inspections. How, like, that would just suck.
Did you get every weed or zebra mussel off?
Right.
Right. Right. Do you know what a zebra mussel is?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they have a little laminated photo of. They all look like this. They may as well just stick it on the side of the trucks. Drive up beside you and just point at it like right there. Yeah, that's one thing I'm glad I never got into boating when I got down here, because the hassle that I see like brother-in-laws and friends and stuff go through with their boats. I'm like, just to go for a ride for a couple hours, like that sucks.
Right.
I don't like it at all. So you were in the field for a while, and then you decided to change your current position. So you're a project manager now.
Correct. Yep.
And I think I read in the little pre-notes that we had, it's the healthcare division, healthcare section.
Yep.
How does that just differ from a regular? I mean, you have such a big business there, you can focus on just that industry?
Yeah, actually, where I'm at, they have a service group, we have an industrial group, a healthcare group, and then we have a group that travels nationwide. And they have like another group that's smaller, that's like commercial locally here.
Okay, good. Well, it sounds like a good organization. Everything's split up like that. Great.
But they're really good at, like, when another group's looking for support, if we're slow in another group, we always bounce around and help each other out. So you get to a wide variety of work.
Very good.
Wow.
Yeah, because we've talked on the podcast before. We can have a little more respect for someone who worked the field and then went to the office. We'll tease you about having those nice shoes and being indoors all the time. Don't get me wrong. It's coming, right? But
get
at
it.
least you had the experience, so when you're talking to people, you know what's what. You don't go in just out of school blind. So how long is it that you've been a project manager now?
Just about 3 years.
Just about 3 years. And what was the learning curve like that?
The biggest learning curve was learning all of the different computer programs that they have.
I could see that, yeah. It's something I've always been curious about. Is it a lot of programs where it kind of helps you and guides you to putting in a bid, or do you have to learn that process separately?
So when I first started, I was told that they kind of try to do this where they have new project managers that don't have much experience with like electrical, which I had the experience. So they had me sit with estimating just to kind of see how they estimate projects and how they want it done. And they have like averages that they'll use and whatnot for takeoffs on projects. And so I got to sit with them for 2 weeks. And actually the guy that that mentored me came from the field as well.
Great.
So it was awesome working with him. He's like, you're going to pick up fast. Like, and it was great working with him. And he taught me a lot of respect. Luke, shout out to you.
Shout out, Luke.
So a lot of guys have this kind of notion, and maybe you can solidify that. The fact of you make a sacrifice going into the office, you know,
Definitely.
and it's kind of twofold. One, financially,
Correct.
because the PMs don't make what the field guys make, and then time wise, right? Because your days don't start and end at 8 hours,
No.
right?
No.
Like phone calls and meetings and bullshit, and so it's have you found it a little difficult to balance that shift inside your family, you know, because you have active kiddos, right? And so how's that family balance, work-life balance?
It's actually been really good.
Yeah.
I'm so used to being from the field and in a service van. I was up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm still up that early. So it's great because I get that time with the field before they start their work. So if there's anything they have questions on, I'm available to talk to them. So I'm able to close my day out at a decent time. I just get up earlier, which hasn't really affected a whole lot.
Could you come over to my company, please? Tell RPMs to do that. That'd be great.
All right, I'll back you up on that. Yeah, I might have to suggest there's a couple people. Maybe you'll have a scheduling change. A couple guys a week or ladies a week. Yeah, because your kid. So does Raymond go by Ray?
Yep,
Okay.
he goes by Ray. Yep.
Yeah. So Ray is hockey, baseball, and soccer.
Yep.
And you said Marnie just started dance.
Yep.
Oh my God, man. That's a busy schedule.
Luckily,
Good
all
Lord.
of Ray's sports, like one after the other, there's no overlapping, so
Right.
that works.
But the drawback of that is there's also no break.
Yeah, that's true. It's
Right.
go, go, go.
Right. Because what? So if it's baseball, hockey, so you get a month at the beginning of summer? No, you don't even get that with soccer, do you?
No.
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 No, you're back to back to back.
It's only going to get worse because now he's starting a summer hockey program with his cousins that starts in June that will overlap with baseball this summer. So we're in for it.
How many of those sports are you coaching since you're there all the time anyway?
I coach hockey and baseball.
Yeah, I thought so.
And I'm sure we've talked about this in the past. I don't remember. You weren't a goalie, though, were you?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. It seems to me I recall that now.
I was very specific with my kids when we moved here in 2013.
No hockey.
I said, you guys can do whatever you want, but you ain't playing hockey. Because the horror story is I got told by a coworker of mine. He's like, I spend thousands of dollars every year on hockey.
See, I've heard that too about dance from a previous coworker.
Yeah, dance is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, second only to gymnastics, I heard.
And I love that my daughter loves it, but it's like, it's a whole 4 or 5 hour event and she dances for like 15 minutes and you have to stay
The
whole time.
whole thing.
Yep.
Now, you get really good at doing buns, putting hair up in buns. I was a professional bun maker. Both my girls were in dance.
I always love hearing you parents talk about the kids. I just sit back and go, wow, what a decision I made.
Hey, man, there's something to be said about when you have daughters in dance, right? And I was very proud to get to that point of when I was at the recital, we'd show up, kids were a disaster, right? Because they're little. They don't get ready at all at the house. So you're sitting in the hallway of the recital place, putting their hair up and helping them with their makeup. And every single mom that was there would come up, oh, do you need help? You're like, no, I got this. There's the bun. And they'd just be like, oh.
That was single dance moms coming over and see what your situation was a lot of that. They were trying to be helpful, but they were testing the waters. That's what they were doing.
No, I got this. And just sitting there as a dad being like, yeah, don't worry about it.
That's pretty
Because
good, though.
9 times out of 10, I was working construction. I'd show up at the dance hall and you got all these SUV moms that have nothing better to do with their time there, picking up their kids the same time I am. And I'm dirty and grungy. And they freaking scowl at me all the fucking day. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, that happens, right?
My money's just as green as you were.
I've seen plenty of the dance mom T-shirts. They have dance dad. You like a dance dad sweater you have to wear or anything like that?
I haven't seen one yet.
No? Maybe we'll have to see if we can order you one.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen the dance mom stuff all over the place.
If we order Joe one, it's going to be bright fucking pink.
Oh, yeah, no, we have to. Yeah, for sure, yeah. The gaudiest one possible. Probably wear it with pride. That's good.
I will.
Yeah.
And so
Bedazzled.
you're just getting into that, the dance with Marnie, though,
Yep.
right? Okay, perfect. So,
Just for kicks.
oh, that's something anyway.
It's a fun time.
Yeah. Does it leave you, as a parent, does it leave you a lot of time for any fun or hobbies in your own? What are you doing in your own time?
I love hunting and fishing.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. My son loves fishing, so we try to go back in the summer. We'll go up to my parents, have a park model trailer up on Lobster Lake near Alexandria. So we'll go up there, and then my in-laws live back just west of St. Cloud, and they have 2 lakes by them that we fish on quite a bit.
Oh, very good. Yeah, again, forgive my memory. I'm getting old. Were you on any of the memorial hunts we went to for Jake?
No,
The
I
bird
missed.
hunts?
No, I had the opportunity to go on one, but I had something going on.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yes, I just said those were a good time. Those few years, it was a shame the reason that we had to go. But yeah,
Right.
Your hunting is it big game? Do you like birding? Like just we have a lot of people who listen who hunt
Mainly deer.
mainly deer.
I'll
All right.
pheasant hunt a little bit here and there, but mainly deer.
Any success this year?
No, I haven't got one in a couple years, but I've been pretty picky.
Rifle or bow?
Rifle.
Rifle. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, it's not so bad to be picky.
Yeah.
Yeah, John and I've said before we got lucky this year, both of us. So yeah, this was a banner year for the two of us.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
I hunt with enough people though, so they share. So I get
that's-
my share of venison each year.
that's a good thing. Yeah, it's will your family eat venison with you? Or is that mostly just you?
No, they will, but it's got to be mixed. They won't
Okay.
do venison steaks, which is unfortunate, but
A lot of spaghetti tacos.
spaghetti
lasagna stuff.
tacos, yeah.
Okay.
We'll get
Pork
sticks
mixture.
made and bring it in and do that.
Yeah, I've always said I'm real lucky that my spouse actually likes it. So
Okay.
the only drag is we burn through it so quick.
I have yet to make any of the deer steaks in my house that
Oh,
we
really?
got this year, just for the wife to try. The kids love venison, but my wife and our deer tasted fantastic.
Our deer is good this year, yeah.
We've had some of it,
Yeah.
but because you cooked up your steaks on the split up day, we all gathered together to disperse, right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, he cooked up his, and God, it's good.
Yeah, we
It
were
is.
really lucky that day. So you, I assume your spouse works as well?
Yep.
Yeah. So just to keeping going a little bit on the family balance, because it's becoming glaringly obvious as we have more guests that have families that I was living the life of Riley for so long. Up until very recently, we got the new dog. I mean, it was almost exactly the same word for word text. I'd text my wife and go, "Oh, I got to work late. I'm going to be here. I'm going to do whatever. I'll tell you when I'm getting home." And it was just K. No concerns about scheduling, nothing like that. What do you do? How do you work it with Sarah to kind of keep everything organized so you don't mix things?
Well, bless her, we have a calendar on our fridge that documents every day. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
This keeps coming
And
up.
we're
Yep.
constantly texting each other throughout the day because, like, my day could seem like it's going to be nothing going on, but it can switch in a dime. And she works from home, fully remote, so it
great.
helps a lot.
Great.
But we're out constantly texting, taking turns, picking up kids. Like, hey, she's like, I got to work late, so I can boogie out early and grab the kids. And so communication's huge.
Yeah, the lucky
Right.
people working from home, sometimes that full remote stuff can be real handy, but
Yeah.
also you're always at home.
One perk about going into the office is my work is pretty flexible too. About if I have to work from home, I'm able to work from home,
That's good.
which sometimes the field doesn't really appreciate because they don't get the option to work from home, which I understand.
Well, we got to build shit.
Yep.
Yeah, as a service guy, I must admit, I'm trying not to let that frustrate me. There is the occasional time where I call someone up and can hear their kids and shit in the background. I'm like, you fucker. Like, God damn,
Yeah.
It's not like you can't answer the phone. I don't know why. A phone call seems to be, it's just as easy as going in to talk to the person. But sometimes when I stop into the shop about a job, I want to walk into the office and have a chat. Like, I want to look you in the eye and ask you some questions. The phone just doesn't carry the same weight for me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better.
Well, the shop is a time suck too.
It is.
Like for field guys. We
Oh,
show-
yeah.
And I'm horrible with it because I like to chat with people. Mm-hmm. I'll walk into the shop. I have to be very intentional. I have to find the guy that I need to talk to, go talk to him, and then hope to God I don't get any conversations on the way back out the door. Otherwise, I'll just bounce from office to office saying hi and seeing how guys are doing and stuff like that. But
No, that's good. So what prompted you to go from working in the field to working in the office?
It's something I've always wanted to do. And I have a good buddy that I grew up with that's been a project manager for a long time at the company I work for. And I was constantly, we'd golf together in the summer a lot, and I'd ask him about it. And he'd always tell me, no, don't do it. You're going to take a huge pay cut. So I was like, all right, I trust you. And then he actually left the company I'm at now and went to another union electrical contractor and didn't really care for it there and came back. And then that's when he told me, he's like, hey, the pay is actually getting somewhat close to what the field is making. Like, do you still have any interest? We're looking to hire. And at that time, when I was working in the field, we were pretty slow at the time. And I was like, why not? Sarah, my wife's like, here's a great opportunity. You always wanted to do it. Take it. And I'm glad I did it and worked out great.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because Nate that we had on recently made that change about 7 years ago, and he told us all about his whole situation and how it went for him. He had like a much longer term, I wouldn't say apprenticeship, but for lack of a better word, just learning curve. He said something similar. The opportunity was there, and why not? I got to admit, I assumed the PMs made more than we did. Up until you said that a few minutes ago.
no. Yeah. I mean, I've applied to be a PM at the shop. I had the conversations, yeah. But
There's the
They've told me
potential
no.
to make more money
Oh, yeah, certainly, yeah. There's
as
always
you move, as you
opportunities.
work your way up.
Right. Yeah, not to mention, I mean, I know with some companies, then it also gives you the opportunity to buy into the company.
right.
Yes.
I wish as a long-term employee, like I've been with my company over 10 years now, I wish there was some way that I could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand how squirrely it would get if you get laid off. I understand why they don't let you, but man, I wish I could buy in because some of the people that go into the shop for 10 or 15 years at the end of their career, walking out, loving it. Especially if it's a successful company, which these days if you're not successful, you're gone anyway. So anybody who's still kicking around is at least growing and succeeding, because there's no in between. The struggle bus for big companies doesn't happen. You make it or you don't.
Right.
So,
right. But you decided, Joe, to get your master's.
I did.
Now, were you still in the field at that point? Or?
Yep.
Okay. How did you find it beneficial? Was it worth it?
I've never used it.
Yeah,
there
we
it is.
go.
That's why I put it in the notes. I was like, I always ask people.
It was just a checkbox. Be like, might as well.
Part of it was I'd never hear the end of it from my dad if I didn't get it because he has his.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're a legacy. I can kind of see that.
Busted your chops a little.
Yeah. Is he, your dad's retired?
He did. He just recently retired not too long ago.
Very good. Where was he working when he retired?
He was IBEW, worked for Choice Electric.
Nice.
He still currently does. He does the 39 hours a month gig.
Oh, yeah. Just to keep himself busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
Something
a couple
to
guys
do.
did that for a while, yeah. What's your dad's name?
John.
John. Shout out John. That's great.
Shout out.
Yeah, we like to hear people getting close to retirement and living their life. That's
Being able
good,
to pull the pin.
Yeah.
because nobody wants to do this forever.
He was literally the best resource going through it because I could call him whenever and he would answer.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good to have somebody you know kind of
Yeah.
has to answer the phone when
Yeah.
you call. That's not a
Yep.
buddy. That's your dad. Like,
Yeah.
call me back. Got a real question. Was it a... Because I thought about it real briefly after I passed the hour limit. And the thought of going back and learning again and going and taking the test and studying all that was just daunting. I had no interest at all. Did you find it hard after having turned out? Because you turned out in 18?
Yep.
18, yeah. Was it weird to be going back trying to study and stuff again?
It was.
Yeah. How long did it take you?
I spent 3 weeks. Set aside, I told Sarah I need 45 minutes a night. I want to just study my fifth year code book final, or the final we took in fifth year. And that's all I studied. And then I went and took it. And I feel like when you take your master's test, there wasn't as much weight on your shoulders to pass when you take your journeyman's test.
Good point.
Right.
So I was just in there like, if I fail, I fail. And I don't know, I was more calm, I guess, when I took that. And I scored much higher on my master's than I did my journeyman test.
Oh,
which is
really?
surprising.
Oh, wow.
That's a good thing.
It's a really similar test in my opinion.
I suspected it would be probably, yeah. And as you say, with the pressure off, it was probably much easier to...
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. 45 minutes a night. It's not bad, man.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more calculation heavy, right?
A little bit, but there were more questions on the laws and rules because since when you hold a master's license, you have to, there was a lot of questions like what you can and can't do with your master's license. So
Right. I always found it really just kind of a pain in the ass that Minnesota here, if you do carry your master's, you have to renew both.
yeah.
You can't, it just doesn't, like your master's should just take care of your journeyman license.
Yeah.
Right? You should only, if you got it, that should be the only
Yeah,
thing you
why
have to-
can't that trump the journeyman's license?
It should, right?
Yeah.
If I got a CDL, I should be allowed to drive a car.
Yeah.
And
I get what you're saying. Like,
most
yeah.
states do. Minnesota's the only one I know that,
I didn't know that.
like, it's South Dakota. Definitely, you get your master's, your journeyman's gone. Like, they actually defile your journeyman. Just be like, yeah, you got a master's. Thank you.
That makes a lot of sense. And you said you've never really had to, like, use it?
No.
No. Was it... You said because your dad had it, so you kind of had to. Was it ever in your mind to start your own shop?
Looking back on it, no. Well, not personally, but looking back, if I went to college, it would have been really cool if I would have went to trade school and could have started a company with my old man.
That would have been all
That would
right,
have been
yeah.
really fun to do.
Sure.
Yeah, Herkenhoff and Son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a nice ring to it. Actually, I like it a lot.
Most people ain't going to be able to say it, but they'll try.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen. Most people might be able to say it. With respect, man, let's get it out of the way here quick. I was kind of curious about when I should bring this up. How much teasing did you get from that name when you were going through school?
Oh my God, I've heard everything.
I'm sure, right? Like,
Yeah.
Because I know it used to come up on the job sites. Not so much. It's starting to recall some things now. Not so much when you were around, but when you weren't around.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Of
like,
course.
how many times did that kid had to fight somebody off for making a jerk off joke? Like, really?
Oh,
Like,
my
they
God.
must have.
I'll never forget my first year apprenticeship I was working a stick building down in Minneapolis, and the J-Dub I was with, he would just yell Herkenhoff when he wanted to find me because it was wide open. Well, then all the other trades thought it was funny, so they'd start yelling my name. So it was just an ongoing joke.
Oh, fuck.
That's good
Yeah,
stuff.
I've heard everything.
Oh, I've got no doubt, right?
Yeah.
Do you? What do you miss most about being in the field? Because I'm sure a lot of people think about making the change. I never thought really about going in the shop. And if I did, it wouldn't have been PM. It would have been more operations or something like that.
I just miss putting my earbuds in, working, and being able to see physically something you did versus like I'm sending emails and obviously doing that type of stuff now, but seeing the physical work you do. It's like artwork.
Right. Because you were serviced by the end, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. How long did you do that?
About 2 years.
No, it's
A little
not too
shy of
bad
2
then.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just passed that mark.
Okay.
Maybe I might be getting close to 3 now. Yeah, that was a real weird change for me.
Me too.
Yeah, like just all of a sudden you're just out there in the breeze.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Do you know what I
It's
mean?
like, oh, you're here. I'm by myself. I got to do this.
Right,
There's
yeah.
no one to ask a question to.
Yeah. Now,
I
Will,
miss doing service work.
oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Like I can't imagine. I mean, I could certainly go back to a regular job site now, but I can't imagine how.
Yeah.
It would be such a weird change to go back to work on a regular field job now.
Yeah, where you don't have to load up your tools every day. You don't have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You're not talking to the customer.
Yeah, just the other day I was at the shop and I was talking to a guy and we were talking because he's recently in, and it was the thought of, yeah, it'd be nice to be around the guys and gals again, shoot the shit, have some laughs, things like that. But the flexibility that I have, it'd just be gone.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine giving that up now.
I mean, to a point, right?
I mean, the work got to get done, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talk about flexibility and stuff like that, and every position has its own kind of flexibility, right? Office work,
Yeah.
field work. I know even though I'm out in the field, I can look at my foreman and be like, hey, man, I got to go. Like, and he's not going to tell me no.
Yeah.
Like, but unless you're a brand new apprentice, don't do that.
Yeah, you're definitely going to do that for
I'd say service really helped me a lot in the project management world because I don't know, you're probably working with customers, like you're talking to them
regularly,
and that helped me in the office because I had that helped with the experience from going from the van to the office. You're talking customers, like
It's a skill that nobody thinks about.
Right.
That PR skill, nobody thinks about how much you actually need it
yeah,
until you need it. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I can't say what's actually on my mind now.
yeah,
what you can say on a construction site and what you can say to a customer are normally pretty different.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a little crossover occasionally. I just the other day I was at a place, they were unhooking a piece of equipment. It was the guy who owned the building doing the work. He knew he shouldn't have been doing it. Anyways, blew his whole panel.
Oh,
Couldn't figure anything out. He's like, everything is dead. I don't know what's happening. Guy goes out, checks it out, emergency, got some of it back online, couldn't figure it all out. I'm there and walking around looking at pipes going, it feels to me like there's another breaker panel around here somewhere. The guy looks me in the eye and goes, oh yeah, there's 2 over here behind this wall. A wainscoting wall, 4x6 on hinges, opens it up. There's 2 big panels in there, 60 amp breaker, feeds a whole other panel. You never thought to mention that to the other electrician. You
Poor fuck.
I mean, what are you doing?
Come on.
And
Jesus.
being able to, I guess, what's the right word here? Politically correct, talk to the guy in a nice way and go, oh, those things happen, sir. Sometimes, yeah, you forget. And yeah, in the heat of the moment, when in the head, it's the regular construction site world where I wanted to go, dumbass. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
and stop doing electrical work if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, get your fucking life together.
Quit it. Oh, that's good. The office work has to be at least satisfying in a different sort of way.
yeah,
I know, like you're saying, going out physically, getting something done, seeing it go up. Where's the satisfaction fall in the office? This is just getting a bid. Like,
yeah. Winning, like getting awarded a bid when you estimate it's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, oh shit, what did I miss?
Yeah.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, I never really thought of that. I'm sure as part of the learning curve, I mean, did you ever really get yourself pinned where you forgot something big on one that you bid? No?
No, I have not.
Lucky.
Yeah.
It'll win. It'll come.
Knock on wood.
It'll come.
It'll come.
Yeah, nobody's perfect, buddy. It's going to
Yeah.
happen.
There's a lot of times where I got to sit and just hover my mouse over the send button and be like, is this number good? And then I just say, screw it.
Yeah. Have you ever got to the point where you're 100% done and then it's the end of the day, you put it away. You're like, I'm going to think about that. I'm going to go home. We're going to revisit that in the morning.
I'm pretty good at just when work's done, I can shut it off,
Yep.
which has been something that has been, I don't know, tough to do sometimes, but it's helped me a lot.
It's tough for a lot of guys.
Yeah,
Did you always find that you had that ability?
I do.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a bonus actually, because I only recently, probably the last 2 years, was able to turn it off when I go home. Before that, I was always overthinking, stressing, running through my head, sitting in bed at night. It was just like, that's definitely, it's a learnable skill because I had to learn how to do it. I'm jealous of the people who can just shut it off and go home.
Don't get me wrong. There are some things that make me
keep
me up at night.
Yeah, it's going to happen with everybody, right? Take 2 kids and a wife and all the sports and stuff they're in. You got enough going on to keep.
Well,
you
that keeps
busy,
my
I'm
mind
sure.
off it. So
Right. But there's times that shit happens on the job site. You get that horrible phone call from the foreman,
right.
and you're all like, "Oh, fuck, here we go."
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to explain that to the owners and the?
Yeah.
We have this problem that I notice a lot in our trade, that when the field guys tend to make a bigger problem out of something that doesn't necessarily need to be. But then they get into this routine of thinking, oh, that now isn't a bigger problem. And then they start relating it to other things that are massive issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody's all like, why in the hell didn't you bring this up? Like, well, because I didn't want to bother you. No, those are times you need to guys can't balance that.
Yeah.
Like, they can't throttle that very well.
Well, not to mention, it's some of the things that seem like a big deal in the moment. It's because they're the ones staring down the barrel of a GC or the other trades.
Right.
It makes it seem like a bigger thing in the moment because they have the person looking at them grilling going, what's the answer? What's the answer? I'm like, I'm trying to find it, man. Calm down.
Right. I've called up my PM and been like, so I don't know if this is a big thing or not. You decide.
See, I would prefer that if you'd call me and tell me that.
Yeah.
Instead of me finding out later when you said, oh, I didn't think it was a big thing, but then it is a big thing.
While John and I take a quick coffee break during this week's episode, we'd like to take a minute to shout out this week's sponsor, Dave G. Dave's support of the Slow Growing Podcast is a huge help, and if you would like to be a future sponsor, please check out the Buy Us a Beer widget on our website. You can buy us 1 beer or multiple beers and help out this little free podcast. From everybody here at the I Shower After Work podcast, thank you, Dave. Yeah, I got to shout out the PMs that I work with. Most of them are absolutely great for that. A couple of them specifically, like, call me about anything.
Oh, yeah,
I'd rather
100%.
I'd rather you waste a phone call for 60 seconds than have a big problem later. Until I learned that going through service when I changed over, and even after I started running work, that was a big moment for me to go, oh, yeah, they just want to be involved still, sure. Because I assumed, hey, the bid is done. You go out and make it happen now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize.
So, story time.
Yeah, that's
So
what we're here for, buddy.
I was doing all the underground work for my shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
I crane certified. I carry a CDL. I run the equipment, you know. And I was working on projects, and when I came into a problem, right, doing underground, there's no way of knowing what's in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what things are, don't know how they're piped, don't know, a litany of problems, right? Well, I would call the PM directly. I wouldn't talk to the foreman on site. I'd call the PM of the project because I knew who it was. That's who needs to know. 9 times out of 10, when guys are on site doing underground, the guys inside the building running the project don't give a shit. They don't give 2 shits about what's happening outside. I'm plowing in pipes and pouring concrete and putting light pole bases in. They don't fucking care inside the building. They don't want anything to do with it. So I call the PM. I was specifically told by my boss at one point, don't talk to the PMs anymore. Don't call them with problems. Talk to the foreman. I'm like, oh, this is going to go over great. Had so many problems. I ended up looking at them going and be like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I'm calling the PM. Deal with it.
Was that the foreman just want to be in control?
No, it was the PMs that I was talking to on a regular basis because there was problems on their projects regularly that were getting pissy and then telling my boss to tell me not to call them anymore.
Well, that's not good.
No.
It's just like,
Weird.
And we got over that. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm not calling you just to tell you about all the problems. I'm calling you for a heads up because it's going to take longer than what you originally thought. You need to know that because it's part of the cost problem of the job.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
I don't want to call you.
Right.
No part of me wants to pick up the phone and go, hey, by the way, This is jacked. That's not fun for me.
Was there just a disconnect between the foreman and the PM?
There was a disconnect of whose roles were what,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because I was considered the commercial outdoor foreman. So it was my job to take care of the outdoor stuff, which I fully took on. Be like, yes, I will take care of this. You don't need to order any material on your site. You don't need to, I will have it ordered and delivered for your outdoor stuff. I just need to know what's going on.
Right.
I would do job site visits. I would show up. I would look at things before I showed up, plan. I took care of it all.
Okay.
And I did that on my own. Like when I was put in the, when I said yes to the job, I'm like, yeah, I'm the outdoor foreman. It's my job to take care of it. Not yours. You worry about the whole structure being built. I will take care of this section for you. Because nobody wants to do it.
Right.
Nobody cares. And I got that. I already knew that going into it, being on other projects. Like when the outdoor stuff would come up, the foreman running the job is just like, God, now I got to fucking do this.
Especially on bigger jobs, right?
So yeah, there was that disconnect. And I don't think the PMs quite understood that that's what I did.
Yeah.
Like I just took care of the problem and let them know. So I think it was too much for them to have another guy calling about their project that's not their full-time foreman,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that's kind of what made him pissy.
Yeah, well, those things will happen, right? And so many personalities working together. It's amazing we get anything built.
Right.
It really is. I mean, we got to be
Some days.
honest. Like, it could be a real shit show most of the time. The fact that we can actually come together as we do amazes me more often than not.
Right.
Yeah. I was always curious too. You don't always know how good your labor force is going to be. You might get okay J-dubs, you might get crappy apprentices. How often does that stuff affect one of your bids? You bid it for so many hours, you don't know if you're going to have a good crew.
Well, so when we do a project, so if something's awarded, we do a pre-construction meeting where we get the foreman that's going to be on the project, we get the project manager, we get accounting, we get tools, we get their superintendent, the field's boss that's going to be on that project. And we kind of have like an hour-long meeting, like just going over what everyone's scope is going to be, who's going to do what the chain of command is going to be, and that's helped a lot.
That's good.
Well, that's impressive.
Yeah, because there's always the joke that you're always behind. Like we always say, I just showed up on the job today and I'm 2 weeks behind.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's the constant thing you get from the PMs a lot of the time. It's very rarely material costs. That stuff seems to be kind of figured out in advance. But those hourlies, like, is it a constant thing? Is there a lot of concern near the end of projects that you're getting real close? Is it always kind of on the edge? Or is it fairly...
Like getting workforce or just...
Let's say your project that you had was 10,000 hours.
Okay.
Or is it usually real close to the hourly mark that you picked? Or is the bid pretty good? Like, is that a nervous thing that happens with a lot of your bids when they're coming close to the end of a job? Because we hear about it so much when I was working field that I was just... Is it just what PMs say? I want to get the truth out of you here.
I think a lot of it's the PM saying it.
Okay.
But
I
I'm not
appreciate
trying
the
to
honesty.
bash other PMs
No,
by
no.
any means, but I don't know. It's hit or miss because, I mean, sometimes when you're just trying to get work, you do have to go in really tight on projects.
Yeah, sharpen the pencil.
Yep. We get that a lot.
Yeah. And that's the easiest place to cut out of a job, right?
Oh,
is
yeah.
labor hours. Because labor hours are stupid expensive.
And trying to figure out what labor rate you want to estimate the project at. Plays
Different
a big
rates.
fact into it. Because we have to figure in the fact, like, how foremen are paid different, J-dubs are paid, service is paid different. So, and we have to factor in like the apprenticeship scales into what we're going to average the whole project at.
Oh, yeah. That
So-
makes sense.
Yeah, those are the kind of little details I was wondering about.
That's what our superintendents do an amazing job at, is they know what workforce we have available. So they can be like, I feel comfortable you estimating this project at this labor rate. So we work with our superintendents a lot to know what we should estimate it at. And like, so the company's like, well, we're comfortable going in at this rate because we know we're going to have X, Y, and Z apprentices available to bring the labor rate down. Or they're like, oh, we're really busy. We're going to have to, price this high because it's going to be 3 foremen on the project and your labor rate's going to be through the roof the whole time.
Yep.
But those guys typically beat the hours.
Can I make you really nervous as a PM?
Yeah.
I'll give you a scenario. Projects planned for a 10-month project. Planned for 2 guys to be there 10 months. Foreman paid and a journeyman paid, right? But now they're about 3/4 of the way through, and for the last 4 or 5 months, there's been about 8 foremen stacked up on that job.
Well, that the PM didn't know about.
Yeah, pretty much.
You have to assume.
It wasn't originally planned that way.
Right.
So what goes through a PM's mind because the situation is the company gets slow, and I think a lot of the contractors will do this. When work slows down, right, they cut the fat out, right? They lay off all the fill guys, what we call the fill guys, all the guys that don't really need to be there. And then they start keeping all of their core employees. But then they get slow enough that they need to start stacking these core employees on jobs just to keep them working.
Yep.
Right. And then all of a sudden you have projects that have 8 foremen on them.
Yeah.
That you weren't originally planning for. Like, what does that do to the shop? Like in the PM's minds, does it just make everything super tense inside the office? Just like, oh my God.
I haven't had an opportunity to experience that, thankfully, on any of my projects. We did have a project, though, that we did very well on, that we were able to, I want to say, hide people on it, because there was money to hide people there, which helped a lot. So they were able to hide those foremen because we didn't want to lose them.
No, and that's what it is. It's finding them a home and keeping them busy so they're happy.
And the company I work for is very good at doing that, and I think they are not hard on the PMs. They'll tell you straight up, like, hey, this probably isn't going to be a good one, but we're not going to hold it against you.
Oh, thank God for that.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've talked to PMs before, and they're dreading going into their weekly assessment meetings. That they're all like, oh God, here we go.
Yeah, what are the hours going to look like this week?
This is
Monthly whip.
Right. And so we have to be, as far as guys in the field, we have to understand that, yes, we like to give PM shit for being part of the clean shoe mafia, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, they're dealing with a different level of stress and a different level of burden that we don't have to. Because as a foreman on a job, yes, it's my job to run the project as lean as possible, right? And get it done on time. But it also, at the same time, if shit goes astray, there's not much I can do about it. Right. And if PM's looking at me going, you're out of time, like, well, that's not my fucking problem. Like, how are we going to deal with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always my big concern. Like I say, I never really had any interest in the project manager side of things. But even when I ran the scenario through my head, the thought of how do you plan for the unknown was always the key factor. I'm like, frig that. I don't want to go into the office. Like, how would you know? Oh, the schedule changed. Like,
Yeah.
like it's so rough sometimes that I can't even imagine. But I'm glad to hear that the way that your company works kind of works together well at the planning stages to limit that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because it's just, it's always the unknowns. I was on a site years ago, and we had a gigantic hailstorm come through that basically stalled the site for 3 days. It doesn't sound like a lot, but then all of a sudden, the same thing as you're talking about, you're trying to put those people on another site for a while because you need to bring them back. That's pumping that site up. They're talking about transfer. And the whole thing just got so squirrely. I'm like, thank God I'm not in the office. Like, the hell with all of this.
That's where change orders come in.
Right. Yes.
Right. Because, okay.
That's a tightrope to walk to with GCs, because you have to be really good at explaining why the cost went up. And so those are the difficult conversations you have to have with GCs.
Right. And unfortunately, you kind of have to kiss their ass too. Like,
Yes.
they have to feel good about it. Like, so that's part of that PR skill, being able to tell them to go to hell and letting them enjoy the trip. You know?
Well, it's the old joke, man. How come when you say thank you, it sounds like you're saying fuck you? Practice. That's how. Like, yeah.
Right.
What I've learned, though, too, from the GCs is they really value honesty when you're honest and upfront with them, because they don't understand the electrical, how everything works like we do when we're doing it every day. So they rely on me a lot to, like, be honest with them and say, and once you build that trust, the change orders come a lot easier because they trust you and they don't think you're trying to rip them off.
Right.
So having those difficult conversations ahead of time has helped me as I've gone through more, getting more work because the other GCs trust me, and it's helped a lot.
Reputation is huge, right?
Correct. Even when you're in the field, reputation's huge.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a small industry.
It's a small, and people don't understand that.
No.
People don't get it. We work in a massive market over here, right? In the Twin Cities. It is a huge market, but our industry is so small.
Yeah, they see the nameless, faceless construction worker, figure nobody knows. Like, yeah, they do.
Someone knows someone that knows you.
Right. Your name has something attached to it somewhere else. Like
100%.
I know there are guys out there that call me an asshole.
There's guys in here that call you an asshole.
Fuck off. Get bent. But it's so true when it comes to that. And their GCs, for some reason, they remember us, right? I can not be the foreman of a job, but say I have a fun conversation with a GC on a project, just a random conversation one day. He's gonna, for some reason, they tend to remember things.
Right.
I would never remember. But I was just on the project I'm on now when I showed up. One of the guys I don't even remember from somewhere, and they're all like, "When did you go inside, not doing the outside shit anymore?" I'm like, "Who are you?"
It's always strange when someone remembers you and you don't exactly remember them.
Happens
Especially when it was like you can tell it's a positive experience. They're like, oh, hey, because I mean, everybody still calls me Canada for the most part, right? And when I walk in and someone goes, Canada, like, hi, you, what's happening, brother? Like, praying somebody else is going to say their name. It is one lucky thing about service. I would say about 40% of the places I go, people wear name tags.
Yep.
That helps me out a lot.
Huge.
Yeah, that helps me out a whole lot. And even then, when it's not a name tag situation, usually they got a placard on their desk or there's a business card or something. You can see something on the wall from where they went to university, like, John, it's John. Yep. Okay, great. Perfect.
Right.
Something I did want to say just on the note of the pre-planning and all that, because it affected me a couple times when I first started being asked to run projects for my company before I went to service. I can be honest, the very first thing I did, not on my own because I had a foreman and support staff right across the parking lot. I was doing a car wash at a big grocery chain. I didn't know what I was doing. I burned through so much of the extras that they made money on inside because I'd forget something, have to get it couriered out the next day. Does that discussion come up in some of these does somebody say, okay, this is so-and-so's first time doing this?
Yes. So the first project I actually got to run by myself was the foreman's first project he was doing by himself.
Oh, what a train wreck.
Yes. No,
good timing.
I was like, we're in this together, man. And it actually worked out really great because, I mean, coming from the field, I was upfront and honest with them. I was like, this is in the estimate what we used for material. Like, this is where we used EMT. This is where we used MC. Like, let's stick to this because I've heard in the past other PMs weren't upfront with the field on what they use for means and methods, and that burned them.
Really?
Because some field, it was like, well, I'm going to run pipe for everything, but they may not have known the PM estimated the whole thing in MC. So having that upfront connection on how you expect means and methods might be a difficult conversation with some foremen that are like, I'm not using MC. But it's been beneficial with me just being upfront and honest, just being like, here's how we did it. I know you may not like it that way, but that's what we got to do.
Now, do you have anything against a foreman that you're having that upfront conversation with, going and just being like almost half negotiating with you? Be like, okay, like I get most of this is MC, but this section we really need to make pipe, like because they may, and you have the ability because you've been in the field. They may catch something on the print at a glance and being like, no, this area is just fucked. Like, let's do this in pipe. Is that okay? Like
100% I'd be open to that. For an example, for that project I did with the foreman, did you guys use plug tails much for receptacles?
Some. I've used them once or twice.
They're a lot more to buy than regular. And he's like, I promise you I will kill the labor hours if you buy plug tails for this. Because he's like, I can rough the plug tail in, tuck it in the box. Devicing will go so fast.
It does cut devicing in half.
Yeah. And
do you know what he's talking about?
I do.
Have you used them?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'll listen to you. You've used them. And he was right. So, I mean, yeah, I'm open to listen to what everyone's got to say.
Cool. I don't think a lot of PMs are. I know we have some PMs, or I've worked with some PMs. I shouldn't say we have PMs. I've worked with some PMs in the past that are just like, no, this is how you're doing it.
Hard-headed.
Like,
Their way or the highway.
yeah. And then you get, foremen that they're running their projects that are just as hard-headed in the opposite direction. You're like, well, guess what's going to happen to your job, buddy?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you had at least an experience with somebody who was brand new and you were kind of new to it as well. Yeah, because I look back on that job so many times and just laugh to myself going, I wish I could have at the time had the same relationships with my company I do now, that I could go back and go, how much money did I waste?
Right?
Was it everything you made extra on the inside? Like, yeah, it was a real experience for me. I definitely like the idea of all the communication that you're talking about, because it's
huge.
critical, right? It's absolutely critical to get stuff done. Especially hard if you have some sort of, I don't like using the word conflict, but you're not going to like everybody.
No.
Those ones are tricky sometimes. There's certainly people at my shop that I could, if I tripped over them in the street, I probably wouldn't help them up.
Yeah.
But we got to work together, and it is what it is. So it's it.
How do you deal with, it's kind of a,
John's got a touchy question.
Ready for it.
I do. So how do you deal with when, say you're given a scope, right? And you're trying to put a bid together, right? And then all of a sudden the project starts and maybe you haven't been in this position yet, but then all of a sudden the scope's not even close. Like, you were lied to by the person you're getting the information from. You weren't given all the information. Have you dealt with that, or have you worked with guys that have dealt with that? Like, what does that look like? Because I have a very specific story in mind, and I've been trying to make sense of it for years.
I guess similar, but not exactly. Where the first project I did, it was an OB in a hospital, and to the schedule, we had all the head walls roughed in all the rooms. And the owner came back and said, none of this is right. It's supposed to be different. These are supposed to be here. And then it was that difficult conversation where you don't want to upset the owner, and then you don't want to upset the engineer. So you're going to the GC. So you're kind of like tiptoeing around who to talk to. How do I present a change order to capture this? And that was one of the biggest things I had to learn, was how to navigate conversations on who to talk to and not push the wrong button, I guess.
Right. Because you have to figure out, where did the problem start, right?
Yeah. Where did this originate from, and how do we get past it without causing the most conflict,
Right.
I guess. What was your instance? I'm curious.
Well, mine was the very first project I ever ran for the company. And it was supposed to be a very small project. I was supposed to go in. I was asked how I was with control work. I'm like, yeah, I can handle control work. It's fine. Right. And I showed up, and it was supposed to be a month-long project, December 2nd to January 2nd. That was it. Showed up, started going through things, started ordering material. I had another guy with me, got him started on a couple of little things. Started talking to the general on site, and we were brought in as a sub to the electrical outfit because they didn't have time to do it. So they gave it to us. And I ended up calling the PM at about day 3 for the third time. And his exact words to me, and God bless him, he did a fantastic job. He said, John, $100,000 job shouldn't take this much babysitting. I'm like, you are absolutely correct. It's tiny. Absolutely. You need to come down here. You need to make the drive up to Maple Grove from St. Paul. You need to come see this. And so he did. And when we were done doing an hour and a half walk, he put his head in his hands. He's like, this is nowhere close to a $100,000 job. I'm like, you're right. And that's what I was afraid of. And our scope was so bad that instead of being done on January 2nd, I was there from December 2nd. At peak, I was running 5 guys and I didn't leave there until March 31st.
That's not $100,000.
Not even close.
Yeah, that's not $100,000.
I had to completely rebuild so it was at a meat processing facility. They moved part of their facility from the Twin Cities up, and I had to go through, they did an addition. My job was to tie in all the refrigeration controls, the ammonia refrigeration controls, right, to all of their processing, do all of the safety cutouts, do basically the entire building automation controls. I had to completely rebuild their control cabinet, and their control cabinet is 6 feet tall, 7 feet wide. And I had a box that I could fit inside of as a 6-foot man. I had a box of PLC parts. I was supposed to rip out and change and rewire their entire cabinet and do all the ammonia refrigeration control on the roof, hook up the rooftop unit, like the whole thing. And it was so bad that he's like, yeah, the scope doesn't even cover 3/4 of what I did.
Do you know what the disconnect was for him on it? Was there an opportunity for a site walk or ahead of time, or?
I have no idea to this day. And all I know is that we had a pile of change orders. Like, I sat down for almost an entire week planning and sending change orders all day long. Like, this isn't in the scope, change order for this. This is how much time I think it's going to take. Like, oh man, I had to figure out labor hours.
Right. But that's definitely going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to shout out any particular PMs that I know, but there are people that you get there, even on the service side, where they tell you, oh yeah, just go in and do this real quick, X, Y, and Z. Okay, great. And you get there and you can tell immediately, they never walked in the door here. And they can't on all of them, right?
Right, they can't.
They get a call or an email from somebody, oh, I just need this. And you get in there and find out that's literally impossible. Like,
yeah, but in service department, it's a little bit different, right? Be like, so this isn't like the customer, because the customers don't know what it's going to take. They know what's happened, but
sure. But I mean, it's not always T&M. It's not always time and material. There are some jobs that were bid and things like that. So yeah, those things are going to happen from time to time. I did want to ask you 2 things, Joe. I'll start with the first one first here. You sort of specialize with your company that you're with right now in the healthcare part of things. Does it give you the ability to really get great at it, to focus in on the details? Because I would have to think the cost within healthcare are a little higher. How they need things done, the areas, like a lot of it's really specialized. Do you like that you are in kind of one area, or do you?
That's the one area I want to be in at my company, but I get enough movement around the company to work on other stuff, so it keeps it interesting.
Okay, so you do get some
I still get to
variation
do, I have some service accounts. I do a lot of service stuff still too, and then I'm actually helping out on a project in Nashville for a data center, so I'm getting some experience with data centers and get to do a broad variety of things.
Okay, that's good. And
I enjoy the healthcare the most. So,
what is it about it you enjoy?
There's so many curveballs.
Oh, say okay, that's a good attitude.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, some people want to be able to just walk in and skate. Yeah, it's good to hear that some people enjoy the challenge and the strange things that come up now and then. So speaking of curveballs, I hear a lot from PMs that I talk to. The times that a bid process, so somebody says this is going to be the job, it's going to start 2 months from now, and then it turns out you got a bid together and it doesn't start for 6 months or 8 months. How hard is it to handle what we're all dealing with right now of the ongoing pricing changes with material?
It's going to be a whole new ball game here soon.
Right. Because it's just it's got to just throw a whole wrench into everything. Like all of a sudden the bid, that number's just out the window because everything went up. Let's say 25%, for example. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right? Oh, here we go.
Yeah. I've had a project like that where with union there's raises.
Right. Yeah, see, I never thought of that. Yeah, raises as well. Yeah, when that time comes
So
for sure.
I estimated a project and it was before the raise had hit. And the project was supposed to start before then, and it started after. So I had to have the conversation with that GC. Hey, they all know we get raises. So as long as you have that conversation and you can justify your number, why it's gone up this much, they're pretty good. They understand.
And then did you have to submit that full job change? I mean, because that is a full job change.
Yep.
Right before even the job got started.
And
so you had to get ahead of it.
Yeah. And then a lot of times too, like if we're uncertain when a project's going to start, we have a little tab where we can factor in the raise into our estimate.
Yeah, fucking Jason, you dick.
Feel free, buddy. I'll stand up.
Yes, please do. Oh my God. Hang on a second.
I didn't catch that while you were laughing till now.
You son of a bitch.
I was saving it for the middle of the episode.
Oh, you fucker.
I'll tell everybody. I'll put some photos up on social media, folks. I have officially, since all this tariff nonsense has been going on with Trump and Canada and all this right now, I am MAGA now. I've joined the MAGA movement, and it stands, for my case, for Make America Go Away. I love living here, but I found this T-shirt and I had to buy it. I wanted to just drop it on John in the middle of the episode here, so we'll put some photos up for that. And elbows up for all the Canadians listening. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But yeah, sorry to kind of derail things there for a minute, folks.
Oh, we'll come back to that. All right. So, but when it comes to, because if there are people out there that don't know, we had a huge COVID price hike, right? I mean, we were getting numbers. I heard from a 1 p.m. that the pricing that we got from one of our supply houses, there was a big bold letter note on the bottom of it said, pricing's good for the next 36 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And like, that's what we have to face. That's what PMs have to face, right?
Yep.
As you're constantly getting new numbers, shit doesn't, if you bid a project, then all of a sudden there's delays, like they can't get the financing set down. They haven't, the weather stopped progress, and the project doesn't even get started for 6, 8, 10 months later. You're looking at the number going, well, none of that's fucking right.
Well, I mean, like, not even something like that. Like, how would you plan ahead for, let's say it was a year-long project. The prices could change within the year. How do you factor in an unknown number for the future? Like, it seems wild to me that the projects don't go under more often than they do.
So a lot of times when we're awarded a project, we shop out all of our material and we'll buy out, and it's locked in when the project starts at that price.
Nice. Okay.
So with the volatility, you're locked in at that price. The bummer with COVID was we locked in at prices on some projects. Well, once COVID was winding down, material prices dropped. You're still locked in at that high rate, so you're still paying more than if you were to go to the wholesale house and buy it.
Oh, shit.
That sucks.
Didn't even think about that.
Locked in both ways.
Yeah, so you're it's a gamble.
Right.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the word I was kind of hoping to get out of you here. Yeah. It's got to be at some points a gamble.
It is. It's kind of a game in a sense, like how well your project's doing, what you're doing. You can see where it's sitting money-wise, and it's kind of fun to me.
Well, I'll say you're in the right position, because I'm sure it'd be real stressful for a guy like me, for example. I'd be looking at all the numbers all the time, just stressing out like high wire all the time.
At first I was that way. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. We had the first project I ran for him, actual project. I remember getting the update sheet, the cost analysis sheet that we get as a foreman, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look bad. I'm like, yeah, that's actually like kind of right on point. I'm like, cool. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a tab here. I kicked the tab over and I'm like, oh, that looks like horse shit. Because they have, and you guys probably have somewhat similar deals. They have a labor curve for the job, right?
Oh, like so tracking your labor on how you're projecting your labor to go throughout the project.
Right.
Yep.
And my project was supposed to man up towards the end and then drop off. Well, there were so many changes on my project right from the get-go, right? All my labor came in right at the front end of the project. Oh. And it took my labor hours right through the roof, right at the front.
To hell with the bell curve, huh?
Well, the bell curve was just fucked at that point. And I remember the PM talking to me about it. And it was really good of him. He looked at me, he's like, this really doesn't mean anything with the shit that we had to deal with. Like, he knew. Because these changes came in, and all of a sudden we had to put in like 17,000 feet of pipe in the ground outside, like for the service, solely for the frickin' utility company. That was it. And we're talking 2,000 feet of 6-inch pipe we had to run. I've never ran that much 6-inch in my life.
And for those of people who are not in the industry listening, that's a lot of money and a lot of pipe.
Yes.
Right. And so we're like, he was really good about it when we were talking about it. And because I brought it up after he sent that to me, I called him. I'm like, so I know this looks like this. Is this what this is supposed to be? He's like, look, it's just what we have. That's how it was planned. Basically, don't ever look at that sheet again.
Yeah, don't stress yourself out for no reason, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, thank God.
So, Joe, after seeing basically both parts of the industry now, you've worked in the field, you actually work service, and now into the office. If you were talking to a young person, do you think this is a good career path for people?
100%.
Good.
Go in the field first, though. It's going to benefit you way more.
Yeah, to actually see things in person. Yeah, because, yes, we've joked before that the people who go, not PM school, but for lack of a better word, and then right into the office, they just don't seem to get it. I mean, they'll eventually get the hang of it, but okay, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Or maybe try the field first just so you get some field knowledge so you know what the field's going through, because it'll make your job easier and your field will respect you more in the office knowing that you've been there.
Right.
We definitely, I got to say, I mean, like, it's not that I disrespect the people that didn't work field first.
I shouldn't just, yeah,
but
I
yeah,
didn't
but
mean
I
it that
have,
way.
but I certainly can. I can have easier conversations with someone who knows what I'm saying from a personal experience level. So yeah, I got it. Very good. What else do you got, man?
I don't really have a lot, man. I'm really happy that we were able to bring you in as somebody that's in the PM position that went through the field, because frankly, people need to understand the balance. They need to understand what you guys deal with. Maybe it'll make some of us field guys a little bit less dickish. I would like to say for most of the PMs out there, if you are listening to this, visit your job sites more. Like that's the biggest bitch that I've heard out of guys for the past 4 or 5 years. I never see my PM. He doesn't know what the fuck's going on out here.
It's a pretty constant complaint. I agree.
We're told we have to try to make it there once a week.
Really? Are you able to fulfill that?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't even seen the PM of this project out there yet, and I've been out there for 3 months.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any specific, I don't know why I'm struggling for words today. I don't know if there's any specific policy my company has, but I got to say, I see the PMs on projects regularly. And if not seeing them, they check in fairly often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I must admit it wasn't as good when I was field running jobs sometimes. But I mean, on the service side, definitely they're checking in to make sure things were smooth and it's what they thought they were. And
right.
Yeah.
Do you think they're there mostly for posterity's sake with the customer?
Sometimes,
Just
but even though,
just want to make sure he's doing a good job.
yeah, that's fine. If a PM showed up on every one of my projects, I'd be totally good with it to have them walk in. But so many times, the person or people that contact us to go in and do the work aren't the people that are there. It's the people running the show, the office, the store, the whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Normally, the person that I have actually gotten contacted by that called our dispatch, they're hardly ever there.
Right.
Yeah, it's just some employee who said, "Oh, well, this is busted, or we need this, and this change needs to be made." So it's not such a bad thing. Well, that's excellent. So I got a couple good pieces of information. We have one more guest that golfs. I'm behind the idea. I've said it before. The ISA first annual golf tournament this summer, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll keep it small. A bunch of our guests golf. I think we can make this happen.
I think we can.
Hopefully, we'll get everybody way in advance. I think Joe would be on that list. He'd be a lot of fun.
For sure.
Well, thank you everybody for listening again this week. We appreciate it from the iShower After Work podcast. Please check us out on Instagram at iSaw Podcast. Check out the website. The Buy Us a Beer app is on there if you want to support the slow-growing podcast, as many people have. We'd really appreciate it. You can buy us one beer or multiple beers. If you would like to reach out to us directly and you don't want to go on the internet, you can text us or leave a voice message at 507-607-ISAW. That's 4729.
Yep.
What else, buddy?
Other than that, if you actually want to be a guest like our good buddy Joe here now, hit us up on our website and the Be a Guest tab. Fill out the form, fill out the media release, and we'll have a quick conversation with you. Joe, you found that pretty easy?
Super easy.
Yeah. We had a little Zoom meeting, a little pre-chat, and then schedule. I know
Little hiccup there on my end.
Well, we had a leg.
Ours too.
A leg time between having you do the pre-interview and having you here. We've been a little busy.
Yeah, we do batch record here, folks. So that's why sometimes the weather we talk about and things sound off to you. Yeah, we don't do this weekly.
Right.
Well, that's great. Well, Joe, we really, really appreciate you coming in today. This is, of course, for you, unless you're on the wagon.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I had a great
Everybody
time.
gets a bottle. Yeah, we'll definitely have you back again. If you, and again, if you do decide to get on the website and become a guest, this is the season of guests on the show, so we want to have as many people as possibly can. We have had some strangers, so don't worry if you don't think that you'd be appropriate. Reach out, let us know. Even if it's somebody else that you know that might be a good guest, please let us know.
For sure.
And Dave G, our sponsor of the podcast today, reach out, Dave. I think we'd like to have a talk with you and have you on as a guest, buddy.
Absolutely.
We hear good things. We hear good things from Adam. So, well, everybody, thank you much for listening this week. And whenever we have our guests, they're the ones who always close the show out for us here with the I Saw podcast motto. And Joe, you go ahead, buddy.
Your work keeps the world working.
That's goddamn right.
Damn straight.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.